Evening. I call to order this regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Thursday, October the 7th, 2021, and at 6 p.m. we're at the Carrabelle City Hall Chambers, and we will open with a prayer by Commissioner Allen, and then I will say the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand.
Father God, we're so grateful that we can come together in a meeting like this to try to do the things to service our loyal customers and the people of this lovely city. You ask to be with us in our judgment that we might be wise and obedient to your will. We ask this in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for silencing your phones. And I'll say again, if you wish to speak during the public comment section or any portion on the discussion of an agenda item, you'll need to complete a speaker card. And then first on the agenda is the consent agenda with the September 2nd regular meeting minutes, the September 14th special meeting, September 14th first budget hearing, September 27th final budget hearing, and the attorney's invoices for August. Do we have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
I move to approve.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Allen, second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Next up, we have the commissioners' reports. Commissioner Brown, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Allen?
Don't have anything now.
All right. Commissioner Mathis?
I have nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Millender?
I have nothing, thank you.
All right. I do have a report, and I'll try to be quick here. I want to give an update on the Ryan Drive culvert and sidewalk repairs. The Roberts & Roberts supervisor reported this week that the design of the two head walls has been approved by the engineer, and they are scheduled for production at the molding manufacturer. But unfortunately, production will not be complete for at least 6 weeks. When the head walls are cast, Roberts & Roberts will schedule mobilization to complete the repairs. And the culvert pipe is in stock and it is ready to ship. So we're holding on the head walls. And basically, the reality on the ground is that the project is not going to start for approximately 2 months. But it is in progress. And just for public record, this repair is a joint effort between Franklin County District 5 and the City of Carrabelle. The total cost for the repair is $116,770, and this cost will be shared equally by the City of Carrabelle and by Franklin County District 5, making the final cost to each agency $58,385. In addition to this cost, Franklin County developed the interlocal agreement and contracted with Roberts & Roberts, and Carrabelle provided the site survey, and our engineer provided the engineered plans. And then next, although not within the city's jurisdiction, I want to give everyone a heads up that Franklin County Commissioners will soon consider doing away with the beach flag warning system at Carrabelle Beach. The county commissioners have agreed to conduct a public hearing to do away with the flag warning system because of confusion that has arisen with Carrabelle Beach being subject to the same warning system that is associated with the NOAA weather conditions for the beaches on St. George Island and Alligator Point. The county attorney explained at their last meeting this week that Carrabelle Beach is within a protected bay and does not front the Gulf of Mexico waters, so the surfs at Carrabelle Beach are not monitored by NOAA and the National Weather Service. And he reported that Carrabelle Beach is being closed down in circumstances when there is not the same public safety hazard that is being experienced by Gulf weather conditions. and he recommended that Carrabelle Beach be removed from its association with the beach flagging system as it exists today through a public hearing process. So if anyone's interested in submitting comments, contact your district county commissioner or attend the county public hearing, and that has not been scheduled yet that I know of. And finally, several years back, our CRA replaced the commemorative bricks on the Veterans Wall at our Veterans Park. And the removed bricks, and some of them were broken, remained at the old City Hall building, where one of our citizens, Mark Melcher, discovered them while they were removing remaining Camp Gordon Johnston Museum items from the building. He has cleaned and repaired those bricks and mounted them on the front of the new Camp Gordon Johnston Museum building on Highway 98, right there on their block foundation at the front door. And I encourage you to stop by for a look-see and to step in and visit the museum if you haven't already. So next we will move to the attorney's report, Mr. Dan Hartman.
All right, I just have two quick items. The first is that we did enter into a contract extension with Mcdowell Housing on the old City Hall site. That moved the closing out to January 31st. In discussions with them, when we were executing the document, they indicated that they may need to come back before the city based on, again, the potential need to extend out into May or so of 2022. And it was our recommendation that obviously, since the commission had approved the extension to January 31st, to get that executed, and they were welcome to come before the city at a later date in order to see how we would feel about an additional extension. So just be sort of expecting that. It sounded like they would need another extension. And then finally, you'll have for just review the draft water and wastewater impact fee or tap fee ordinance. If you have any comments, pretty simple and straightforward, but if you do, let me know. It'll be up for first reading at the next meeting. And that's it.
Do we have questions or comments for Mr. Hartman? Okay, and then will the draft ordinance for the increased tap fees, will that will be circulated for everyone to review in advance of the first reading? Okay, thank you very much. And then we have the city administrator's report.
I just wanted to report that the personnel policy has been revised as directed at the September 2nd meeting. Last month, we also went over an RFQ from the Krisner Group for the comprehensive compensation review. And as part of that, we were questioning whether the compensation review had previously been done in our 2020 report that we received. So I reached out to them and they said, no, it was not a repeat of the market compensation review that they had completed earlier. Rather, it was reviewing the current compensation for the existing hires with required compensation as minimum wages rise. Jason Shove requests that his district submit a House Appropriations project request for 2022. It's due in November. I think my suggestion is that we submit for Baywood. We already have that application. We submitted it for FDOT, so we can basically just resubmit it for the appropriations. And if you guys agree, we'd need a motion to do that.
I make a motion to approve that.
Well, we would want the administrator to work with the Novia because he's going to have to do a little, he actually
He
does
would,
the
yes, he would do the
submission.
application.
And to submit the House Appropriations request for Baywood Drive, surfacing and stormwater management.
I make a motion to
Okay,
do all
all
that.
right. All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and we have that motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Millender. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Thank you.
We have the topo survey complete on the new cemetery property. So now I guess moving forward, what we would need is a motion to develop a property transfer agreement with the school board.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
If the attorney would prepare that, then we could get that, to present it at the November meeting.
Okay, so that's a motion for the attorney to prepare a property transfer agreement. Okay. And for the November 4th meeting. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that motion's made by Mr. Melander, second by, Commissioner Melander, second by Commissioner Mathis. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries.
The city currently has a credit card limit of $10,000, and that's for all departments, for the CRA, for everybody in the city, and that's a cumulative, so it's not that I have 10,000 and Keisha has, and that's the total. And what we found is in the last couple of months is that we're hitting that $10,000 limit before the month is over, and we're not able to make these purchases that we need to make because it's hit the limit. So we're asking to increase that from 10,000 to 15,000. And just to give an example, Charlie ordered one part and it took the whole $10,000, and we couldn't purchase anything for the rest of the month. And nowadays, most of our purchases are done by credit card or over the phone or online or.
So you want to increase the Centennial credit card limit
From 10,000 to 15,000, and like I said, that is for the whole city.
Do you think that's enough? I mean, realistically.
That's what our finance clerk was suggesting.
Yes, sir.
I just have a question. It looks to me like that the water and sewer department would be kind of on its own.
It's not.
A
It is,
separate-
it's paid when she pays the bill at the end of the month, it's
did-
paid out of the correct accounts, but Centennial just issues us one credit card. Well, each of us have different credit cards, but there's just one limit, it's not divided between accounts.
Understand, and I do understand that, and I understand that there are different budgets. The reason why I was thinking, and especially as costly as things are for water and sewer, they would be on their own dollar limit, whether it be 10,000 or 15, but that's just my opinion.
That's not how they have it set up. I don't.
So I'm good with whichever way we need to do it.
Well, we probably need to do that now, and because I don't know, we wouldn't have another opportunity to address this issue until November the 4th. We could go ahead and do this now. We can always change it back to 10 and research and see if we can have, a credit card special for the water and sewer enterprise.
And just like this month you've got Keisha and Miranda are both going to school, and then the CRA, we have 3 of us that are going to school, so that eats up a lot, motel rooms and even the classes that we have been paid for on this credit card, and then that doesn't leave much left to spend for the rest of the city for buying supplies and materials that are needed.
I've gotten down south at a training and had to pay for my motel out of my pocket because the credit card was maxed out.
Yeah, I've had to do
I'm
that as
convinced.
well. Years ago.
I'll
That's
make a
why I'm
motion, I'll
thinking
make a
should-
motion to increase the limit to $15,000, move it from $10,000 to $15,000 for the monthly purchase limit.
Second?
I think we already had a motion.
Oh, you did?
I don't, I
Yes,
She
don't,
didn't make a motion.
Okay.
I did.
Okay,
Oh, did you?
I didn't,
We
I
can
don't think I
discuss
called
now.
for it, so.
it can be
All right.
discussed.
All right, so we
I
have,
mean, if it's getting so close to 10 already and that's happening frequently, I kind of think we should see about getting it raised to 20 because those
now we have,
purchases are
just let me
huge.
say, we have a motion by Commissioner Melander, second by Commissioner Allen. Continue with your discussion. Okay.
So, because when you go out of town, that would put some people in a hard position to have to pay for those things out of pocket, because it's expensive. What do y'all think?
I'm still good with my motion. I would like for us to look at the separation between the general fund and the water and sewer.
So raise it to 15 and then look into just getting
Yeah.
a separate account
Look
altogether?
and see if we can put water and sewer on their own.
Yeah, we can, I
because-
think that's
Yeah,
good.
that's a
Mhm.
good idea.
And then
That's an
review it in
expensive
November?
operation. Yeah,
I know, their parts. That's wild.
that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Okay, then, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that one carries as well. That was Commissioner Melander, Commissioner Allen.
The Carrabelle History Museum will be applying for TDC funds to install an elevator. I think in the past, she's already applied for some funding. Ms. Tammer can talk about this some more under her report, but she's already applied for some funding, but TDC has some additional funding coming up that would help with the elevator. I don't really need a motion or anything on that. That was just her information. Last month, we sent Streets and Roads Department out to McKissick Beach twice. First time they went out there, this was all about vehicles entering the beach. They're running over the poles that are out there and going through and riding down towards the point, tearing the beach up. So the first time he went out there, he replaced 3 poles. Second time he went out there, he put 2 more. And I've asked Dustin to get a price on installing pylons. That would be maybe 4 foot or so out of the ground, maybe 4 foot apart, so that a vehicle can't drive through them. And we think that would keep people from running them over. You know, if they're deep enough, they're not going to snatch them out or run them over. I was supposed to have that back before tonight's meeting, but I didn't get the quote back.
And if it's, I was thinking if it's a lot, or or maybe we could eventually, put pilings across the entrance and then all the way down to where the property line is. But we may have to do that in phases and just get a price on the quote and do that in phases, because we are really getting some complaints from certain folks out that way that people are driving on the beach. And I've talked with Mr. Hartman about it, and he says that our responsibility is to close off that entrance, and all of the other entrances to that beach area would be through private property. So it's our responsibility to keep vehicles from traveling on that beach through our access, through the city's leased access. So maybe you'll have some information for us soon. Okay.
That's
Thank
all
you.
I have.
Does anyone have questions for Ms. Courtney? And thank you for reaching out for the quote on that. Okay. Next we have Ms. Keisha, our city clerk.
I'm just going to announce some meetings. We will have a CRA meeting the 19th at 1:30, Tuesday the 19th at 1:30. We do have some items for the P&Z agenda the 21st at 2 o'clock. That does not include the Family Dollar. That's just other additional site plans. And the city recognizes Halloween on the 31st for those wondering what day to trick or treat. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have questions for Ms. Keisha? All right. And then we'll move on to Anovia's report. And as we can see, Mr. Russell isn't here tonight, but Courtney's going to just brief us real quick.
You got Russell's written report. If you have any questions, what we really need to discuss tonight is the Lighthouse Estates Septic to Sewer and Water Project. We opened those bids on September to the 28th, and we only had 2 bidders, and they came in. Well, the base bid for Phase 1 sewer came in $167,657 over the grant budget. The base bid for Phase 2 sewer came in $837,935 under budget. And then the water Phase 1 and 2 came in at $923,727 over budget. So Russell had some suggestions, and he had reached out to the Water Management District and said, hey, on the septic to sewer, can we move some of these funds around, or can we change the project area? And they came back with an email today that didn't seem like they were really wanting to do that. They were asking, can Carrabelle bridge the gap somewhere in between there? It was right at $100,000 is what's needed, or $167,000. We heard back from the DEP, and he gave us 3 options at the DEP that we could look into. Let me see if I got those. But one was to go ahead and start the project, and then to apply for additional funding in November. And they couldn't tell us if funding would be available or not. And I think one was to hold off on the project, and then there was an option to start the project, apply for try to apply for some funding, but get the loan amount changed, and try to get more loan money. I know, Mayor, you have some of those
Yeah.
numbers wrote
The
down.
loan, okay, now this is for the water extension. We're dealing with two different, water management district for the sewer, septic to sewer, and water with the DEP. Septic to sewer is grant money, but we'll get to that one. The DEP, to extend the water with the septic to sewer, and it's gonna go right along side by side, no less and no more. The DEP gave us a $2.7 million loan, but the thing to remember is that they gave us a loan forgiveness on the principal of the forgiveness was $2,430,000. So the loan to be repaid is $270,000. And right now, the calculations, Russell, when we agreed to all of this and agreed to sign that $2.7 million loan, but the only part, with our debt service to be $270,000, Russell did the calculations, and the 163 new accounts that we would have, not counting vacant lots, would service the debt on $270,000. Now, because it's $167,000 over, no, excuse me, that's the wrong one. We got to keep them straight here. This water loan is $924,000 over. The bid is over what the loan is. The bid amount is $3,623, and the loan amount is $2,700,000. So we're going to have to get some more money to fund this water project, and Russell has it out there, $923,000. So we can either accept more loan money right off, but we would need to know, can we service that additional loan money for that almost additional million? We can wait for grant funding to come from the DEP in February of 2022, but we don't know. You know, they wrote that it's difficult to guesstimate if there's going to be grant funds available, and they won't know until late December. Or they said we could start the project with current funding and hope that the grant funding is available in February of 2022, or if grant funding isn't available from the DEP, then we could take loan money for the additional almost $1 million. We need somebody like Russell to calculate for us if we can service that debt for that additional $1 million. Possibly the DEP would give some principal forgiveness like they have done on the original loan. You had mentioned 150 today, but I don't know what you.
That was a figure that Russell gave to me over the phone, but
Okay.
I'm not sure where he had gotten that.
Okay, and I don't
He
know.
had said it would be a payment of $150,000, an additional $150,000.
A year to pay
A
off
year.
that, in addition to the 270.
Correct.
And that could be. So then on the septic to sewer, we have two loans on the septic, two grants on the septic to sewer, and one grant is, I want to make sure I have it here, $851,000, but the bid is $959,000, and that is, what did he say it was? It's $167,000 over. And so now on the water management side, they're dealing with the septic to sewer. They want to know if we can apply value engineering, which Courtney and I don't know what that means. We would have to talk to Russell. can we look at current expenditures and invoice us? He wants Russell to invoice what's already happened, and so that they can determine how much of the grant money remains on this phase one. Or can Carrabelle contribute to help bridge the gap on this phase one, which is $167,000? So, you know, Russell had suggested having a special meeting. I think he even put it on this, he recommends to have a special meeting to review all of this. And I think we do need more time to consult with Russell. I feel like we need more time to review what available funding the city has, and it really wouldn't be the city, it's the water and sewer department. If we had available funding to bridge the gap for phase one on the septic to sewer, it would come from the water and sewer department. We need more time to understand if the new water accounts will service the debt on the DEP side for that almost $1 million additional loan. And we need time for everyone to review all these numbers and study it and talk with Courtney about it and understand it more, so we can have a good discussion and possible action. And I think a special
And both of
meeting-
these emails just came in this morning. So
Yes.
we haven't had these, they were just today coming in.
One came in after lunch, and I think we should have a special meeting. I think we don't know enough right this minute to make any kind of determination on that.
Mayor, I'm gonna make a motion that we have a special meeting for this purpose. As you've stated in your comments and explanations, there's several questions in my mind, and I think we need answers on some of those questions before we can make a decision. So I'm gonna motion that we hold a special meeting.
Okay. What we need to do, we have a motion. We'll need to decide when we want to have this special meeting.
We're probably gonna need to coordinate.
He asked for the 19th, but I did call him and ask him if he'd be available sooner. I don't know if y'all want to wait till the 19th, but he said he'd be available any day next week other than Monday.
When?
Or you can wait till the 19th. That's the day of the CRA meeting, and he'll be here anyway.
Courtney, you said when?
But if we have a deadline, you know, of, they're asking for
Right.
a November something in November.
Oh, I can't
see
remember
that
the
earlier.
deadline either, but it is, I can't remember, I don't have it. Oh, November the 10th.
November the 10th, accept
Uh-huh.
board loan money to cover the shortage at the SRF public meeting on November the 10th.
So, he's available every week, every day next week except
Except
the
for
11th.
Monday.
And I'm available every day next, I hate to put it off until the 19th.
I'm not
as well.
available Thursday and Friday of next week.
Okay, what about, let's see, what about Tuesday?
Tuesday the 12th?
Uh-huh.
What time are we thinking?
Is that soon enough to advertise?
Is that enough time to get all these numbers?
That only gives you tomorrow and Monday.
Uh-huh.
I think it's enough time for Russell to get the numbers, because he already has it formatted.
Or I can go,
is being
in the morning, I have a meeting, a TDC meeting in the afternoon on the 13th, but 10 o'clock in the morning on the 13th, so the 12th or the 13th.
Because we have a training that afternoon.
Courtney and I have a training the 13th.
In the afternoon.
afternoon.
We're-
Uh-huh.
Morning's fine.
So 10 a.m. Wednesday the 13th?
Is that all right? 10 a.m. the 13th?
Suits me.
I don't think I'm required for that.
Okay.
You decide, but I'm in trial that day.
Oh, well, I don't think, what do y'all think?
Usually not with finance.
Uh-huh. Okay, all right, and, okay, so that, would you like to make that motion again then for the 10 a.m. for the 13th, Commissioner Melander?
Yes, ma'am, I'll make that
Okay.
motion.
At 10.
Hold a special meeting at 10 a.m., October 13th.
And this will serve as public notice, this meeting, and then we'll post it on the door.
All right, we have that motion by Commissioner Millender for a special meeting at 10 a.m. October the 13th to discuss the Lighthouse Estate water and septic to sewer funding issues. And then, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and that's second by Commissioner Brown. And is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that motion
And
carries.
also, the Water Management District, in her email, she wanted to know what were our intentions. And I believe our intentions at this time is to move forward with the project. Is that a reasonable assumption?
And that's
Just-
something we can further clarify at that meeting, what our options are. We'll learn what our options are and what our intentions are.
I think our intentions are good as long as our funding we can work
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a little bit back and forth, and I hope the people in the audience had some kind of understanding of it.
Was that Brown second?
Yeah, that was
Millender.
Millender and Brown, and it carried. Okay. Is that all, Ms. Courtney?
You guys have the report. If there's anything else you have questions on, you can reach out to me or Russell, but that was the one thing that we really needed to discuss tonight.
Okay, thank you. And then next up, we have the advisory board reports. We have the Carrabelle Waterfront Partnership report has been submitted, and the Aviation Advisory Board. Ms. Tamara, did you have anything that you wanted to add quickly, or?
Just invite everybody to come see the fabulous exhibit on sponge diving in Carrabelle.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for your volunteer service. All right. And then we have the Aviation Advisory Board, and you see there, Mr. Sullivan has laid out for the next 5 years the grants that the DEP has assigned to the Carrabelle Airport. Okay, we'll be getting some new hangars and new runway, and it all happens between 2022 and 2027. Okay. All right. Public hearing, we have no public hearing this evening, but we will move on to new business. And the first item is a non-action item, but it's presentation of our Carrabelle Economic Development Strategy for 2021, and it's presented by Ms. Carolyn Smith of the ARPC. And we're so glad to see you, Ms. Carolyn. We hope you're doing well.
I am, thank you.
Okay.
It's nice to see everyone. Good evening.
Good to
All
see
right,
you.
good to see you. Maybe before I start, I brought hard copies. Maybe I'll talk about
Okay.
that first.
Thank you.
Sorry, I pulled my back a little bit, so I'm good on the left side, the right side, not so
Uh-oh.
much.
Thank you.
I know.
And then maybe some people in the audience would like a
I
copy
think there
as
should
well.
be copies enough for everybody. All right. So thank you for having me this evening. Should I wait a second or?
No, you can go ahead,
Okay.
go ahead, everything is good.
Okay,
And
okay, super.
we're glad you're here, and we know you want to get back too before it gets dark.
I won't have a chance at it, but it's nice to be done. I mean, you know, sorry, it's kind of more of a joke, but it's really nice to be back down here. It's been a while, and it's nice to see everyone's faces and get to share with you something that we've been working on for the last year. So, my name's Caroline Smith. I'm the Economic Development Manager at the Appalachia Regional Planning Council, and I'm here this evening to share with you Carrabelle's Economic Development Strategy, which, a little background, we've been working on for the past year with funding from the Florida Department of Economic Opportunities. Oh, sorry, closer to the mic, thank you. Wait, can you hear me better now? Shoot, okay, thank you. I'm glad, thank you for saying something. Should I start over?
Well, they're asking, one is asking yes, and one is saying no.
Well, we'll go from a little background. So
Okay.
we've been developing this economic development strategy with funding, with grant funding from the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity under their Competitive Florida Partnership Program. And through that, we've had a series of community workshops and other activities and kind of back and forth processes to see what the community of Carrabelle wanted to see kind of as a vision for economic development in the future. So using all of y'all's input, we've put together this economic development strategy, which is split up into 3 major sections. And the first section is kind of the introductory section. It has some background information on Carrabelle, both some data figures as well as some kind of perspectives from the community. The second section is the community asset section, which was a big part of the workshops, trying to identify specific points, places, people in Carrabelle that could be involved and used as vehicles for economic growth in the future. And then the third section focuses on goals for economic development and projects, and a lot of those are tied to assets in the community that were identified by folks who came to the workshop. So I always hope with these strategies that it fits your vision for Carrabelle, because that's really ultimately the goal. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about it or walk through it. But I'm also happy to just give you some time with it. What would be the preference of the commission?
Could you is it all right if she just walks us through it real briefly?
Sure.
Is that okay with you?
That'd be absolutely, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Is that all
okay.
right with the commissioners?
All righty.
Okay.
Okay, fun. All right, so we'll start with, we have the introduction and overview section. And I won't go too page by page if that's okay, just in the interest of time. But we have included some kind of background on the grant program itself to give kind of a basis for how we got here in the first place. And then we have a section where we tried to identify what the existing economic conditions were in the community, starting on page 5, which I will admit is a little bit limited in terms of the data we had available to us. That's always a struggle with smaller communities, is that sometimes the data isn't quite representative, but in terms of going after future funding sources, it can provide like a good baseline for how Carrabelle might be viewed by, say, the state government or federal government. So we tried to have that as a baseline, as well as some various maps to kind of demonstrate like the workforce situation, how many folks who live in Carrabelle are actually working here, and how many folks who live here work elsewhere, where are jobs concentrated in the community. As you can see, most of them concentrated around the prison and kind of downtown area. So the hope is that this data isn't necessarily shocking, that it kind of lines up with your lived experiences, but in a way that can be useful figures for using for future applications or whatever it may be in communicating kind of Carrabelle's story. There's a SWOT analysis as well that was informed by the community workshops, and a little background on the purpose of an economic development strategy, which ultimately our hope is that this can be kind of a guiding document for maybe future projects to consider, and something that you can refer to even when going after state and federal funding or other sources, as something, say if there's a project identified or a goal identified that the community's already spent time talking about, discussing, and has vetted. It's a way to kind of back up your request for support from other agencies. At least historically, it's been useful for that. The second section is about assets. It starts with an overview of assets that were identified, showing kind of the overview of Carrabelle within and just beyond the city limits, as well as a focus on downtown Carrabelle, since there was a concentration in that area. And then the remaining pages of the assets are split up into 4 main categories, starting with commercial assets, such as the airport or the manufacturing building, and different commercial establishments in town. And then, let's see, the second section being historic and cultural assets. Followed by natural and recreational assets. And I will say too, some of these aren't necessarily in the city limits. That was something we discussed at the community workshops. But it's kind of a chance to paint a picture for what the kind of some main points of interest are in the community that are involved in creating jobs or bringing people to the community or supporting quality of life. And the last section of assets is then the civic assets, which are ones that tend to more generally support the community, such as the public library. And while there are some assets that are highlighted, those that were mentioned that maybe were there wasn't enough time to delve into are still listed kind of in bullet points. So we tried to include really everything that the community said. It was our hope for this, like I said before, to be as reflective of what came out of the workshops as possible. All right, and then, let's see, any questions so far, actually, before I go into the last section? Everyone okay?
Good.
Everyone happy? Excellent, okay. All right, so the third section is goals and projects, which is split into, I believe, 5 major goals, or 4 goals. And within each of those goals are different projects that were outlined. And this is honestly the section of the plan that can be viewed as more the living part of the document. Because ideally, these are projects that some of which are actually already ongoing since we started this project, and some others which might be done in the future. But even in the past year since we started this project, so much has changed, that let's say 5 years from now, something else has changed or new funding's become available or there's something important that needs to happen in the city. This kind of section can be used as kind of the goals or these overarching kind of umbrellas for each of the projects. Maybe there's a project that you'd like to add in the future. A lot of other communities that have participated in this project and have come out with strategies have chosen then to, say, revisit it in a couple of years and add more projects. So I would like you to just keep that in mind. That can be a really useful way to use this. And it keeps it up to date for the community as well. But so of the major goals that were selected, the first one is to revitalize and enhance the character of downtown Carrabelle through historic preservation, business diversification, and waterfront improvements. The second goal is to promote job retention, job creation, and vocational training programs. The third goal is to build community pride and set the stage for responsible development through policymaking, code enforcement, and environmental preservation. And the fourth goal is to promote tourism and recreational opportunities. And that's really kind of an overview of the strategy. There's, of course, a lot more detail in there, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have or revisit a section that I went through. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay.
Not at this time. I think I would certainly like a few of these to go to the Carrabelle Chamber as well.
Absolutely.
You know, this is, and it gives us a guideline to something that we can, for instance, the trash pickup and code enforcement, this is something that we can refer back to, you know, when the discussion, if we have discussions, we can refer back that we had a workshop and the community came in and participated, and this was something that they promoted.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Promoted.
Will you be able to email this to me so I have it electronically?
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also happy to, you know, if you'd like some, we can bind copies as well. If y'all would like some copies to kind of have on hand at the, you know, at City Hall or anything like that, or we can just, you know, electronic copies or bring more copies down, whatever you'd like. Okay. And then the extra copies, if there are extra copies this evening, I'm happy to leave those here for you as well.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Does anyone in the audience have questions or comments at this point?
Looks great. I'm just scanning through it. Looks really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
glad to hear that.
The bound copies would be a great idea.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's nice, keeps them really well sorted, and yeah, as you can imagine, staples can only handle so much wear and tear. But thank you very much for the chance to present this evening. It's been really a lovely process walking through this with Carrabelle, and I'm glad to have had the opportunity.
Okay.
Cool.
I'd like to
Thank you.
say thank you to you and your staff, Carolyn, for all of her hard work. I've sit in, as the others have, on the gatherings and meetings and strategies. But thank you and to your staff for all the hard work. I think it's a good document for us to maybe move forward with.
Cool. Well, thank you, and thank you for your partnership on it. And as far as moving forward with it too, I mean, we're always here. So if, you know, when you're ready to look at something, or, you know, with the funding that you're trying to go after now, just let us know however we can help.
All right. And if you see anything, you know, if something comes up that you think would, you know, fit in for Carrabelle through any of these type of planning grants or economic development, that's what you specialize in.
Absolutely.
You know, be sure to let us know.
I will, definitely,
Okay.
especially as the kind of application cycles start rolling around for next year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll certainly be back down here.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. And have a good evening. It's a pleasure to see you. All right, so that was new business item 1, and then we'll move on to item 2, discussion and possible action regarding scheduling extra P&Z and commission special meetings requested by Dale Scott of Sop Choppy Pizza Company. Is Mr. Dale Scott here, or? Okay, hello, how are you? All right, welcome to
Dale,
Carrabelle.
This is Kathy. Thank you.
Kathy
She's
and-
lived here her whole life, so some
Okay.
of you may know her. We both owned and operated Sop Choppy Pizza Company for several years and had a little stint over in East Point, and now we're trying to get over to Carrabelle. We're just here basically to ask for special meetings to get our process kind of moved along a little faster. I know you guys have standards and predetermined meetings and whatnot, so we'd like to request special meetings to just get our just get started as soon as we can. And that's about it.
Okay.
We're really under a time-sensitive kind of thing.
All right, we understand that, and we're glad you have chosen Carrabelle to make your new home,
Yes,
first
ma'am.
of all.
Yes, ma'am.
And a lot of folks love Sop Choppy Pizza and Calzone and all the other good stuff. I think Mr. Hartman wants to speak.
Oh, no, I have talked
Okay.
to, because I do very much love
The pizza?
I followed the
Okay.
Sop Choppy
Okay.
But I had talked to Keisha earlier today, and obviously we have a process, which we have the P&Z City Commission, P&Z City Commission, so there needs to be 4 meetings, and the process has to be uniform, consistent for all applicants. We can't create exceptions. At the same time, when Keisha and I were talking about it, it was simply that we don't set meetings or add things before meetings like CRA or tag things on. So obviously, the explanation to these folks was that it's up to the commission to either set special meetings or add things to existing scheduled meetings, like the CRA meeting in November or whatever. So that's all.
And so we don't, that I know of, and I understand your urgency, and it's mostly, I understand. There's all different reasons, and finances are probably the main
Yes,
reason.
ma'am. Absolutely.
So, and that hurts. But as far as I've known, we've never scheduled special planning and zoning meetings or special commission meetings to do planning and zoning issues, because that's gonna open up a can of worms. It's gonna set a precedence, and then we're gonna have everybody that comes for anything like this, they're on a financial bind. They're in a, when they come and they're trying to build a house, they need to get a special exception or a site plan approved, or they want to change some land use or zoning. They want to do that because they've bought the land or getting ready to buy the land, and they've got the timeline that they're trying to meet. But we would end up giving, if we give one, this is my opinion, there's 5 of us here. I feel like if we do it for one, then we're gonna have to do it for all, and then we'll end up having P&Z meetings, all different times. The public won't know when to show up for a P&Z meeting. We'll have then the commission dealing with P&Z issues at all different times. The public won't know when to show up. And the public, many times, want to come to P&Z meetings because it may be dealing with something that's in their neighborhood, or a zoning change, and the public is many times are interested in what goes on at planning and zoning meetings, and so they want to be able to be assured of when these meetings are happening, and we have a regular schedule. But I'm going to be quiet now and let the other commissioners speak.
I share that same idea.
Okay.
It's just,
We are very excited you guys are coming.
So when's the planning and zoning meeting that we can get on?
So the schedule as of right now would be the 21st P&Z for preliminary, and then preliminary approval November 4th commission meeting. Then final approval for P&Z would be November 18th, with final approval on December the 2nd through the commission. We could issue a building permit as soon as December the 3rd, as of right now.
So after the initial P and Z meeting, you have to excuse my ignorance in all this. I don't really
It's okay. We all,
understand the process fully.
we all
but
had to learn it.
After that initial one, if I'm understanding you correctly, if I don't ask for a special planning and zoning meeting, can I ask for a special commission meeting after my initial planning and zoning?
Let's see. Okay, so you would have it on the 21st.
Would be preliminary.
Mm-hmm. And then our next meeting is November the 4th.
So it's the following week.
Right. Uh-huh.
They're all 2 weeks.
Oh.
Two.
And the November, what did you say, the planning and zoning is November?
18th.
It's November 18th, so 2 weeks after the city.
So you really wouldn't be able to go anywhere any faster than November the 18th anyway?
That would be okay. That-
And then
the
the week
That's
after
better
that,
than December 3rd.
Thanksgiving.
And
Well,
then,
you still, after November 18th, have to go to the city commission
Uh-huh.
December 2nd, 2 weeks after the 18th. So
so,
are you asking for a final of one before December
Please.
and the end of November? I mean, is that what you're asking for, just one, or?
Well, whatever we can do. I mean,
mhm.
if there's a way, I don't want y'all to break any rules for us or anything. I'm not asking that. I just, well, maybe some consideration to maybe seeing what we could do.
I don't know what to
And
say.
excuse my ignorance, I have a question.
Okay, no.
Is it possible to make like a preliminary motion that if P and Z approves the final on the 18th, that we would go along with what they are doing, so that they don't have to, is that
You would
a
still have
thing?
to have a meeting.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mr. Hartman?
What type of structure are you bringing?
It's like
bringing in structure?
Yes, sir. It's a prefab building.
So the permit
So it's
would
a
be
portable
hard to,
structure.
it's gonna be permanent it's not on wheels.
Would you be removing it if you left?
Yes.
But it still is gonna have to be required to be tied down to meet the 130 windmill zone.
And the only thing I'm thinking of is, there is the exception as far as exemption, but I mean, as far as, are you looking to open, or are you looking to get started on,
Get started.
on getting it on the site, get the kitchen
Yeah, because
built out, and all this?
the building's at my property now, and I can't really do too much to it because it still has to be moved, and so I'm kind of stuck, twiddling my thumbs waiting to get this started. It's all kind of happened faster than I wanted it to. So I thought this was going to be like my smallest hurdle. I thought the state was going to be my biggest issue, and they've already contacted me and ready to come out and inspect. So.
Because there isn't, I mean, and I'm making this up as we're sitting here talking, but this is something that's administrative, so you would still have to go through that process to be open, as that is the development, that is the use on the property, be a restaurant. But there's an exemption where the administrator, if it's a temporary or portable structure for a period not to exceed a year.
And we've explained that to them, but they don't want to be temporary.
Well, I don't want.
If someone, for instance, comes in as temporary and then they have to go through the development order process, they want to be permanent. Let's pretend they were denied, not that you would be, but you denied at these meetings that are coming up, then you know you can only be there for a year, like you gotta go, if you were denied. But if you go through that process and become permanent, then you've gone through the process, and that temporary structure can become a permanent structure if it meets all the requirements. Does that make sense? Okay, I mean, okay.
So if
that
they're
would-
temporary, they don't have to go through all this?
Right, it's administratively approving, they have to meet the building permit requirements, they have to, for a temporary structure.
And then they
want a
could
plumbing wire.
open and then come back
They
and,
would not be able to open, so they would have to open after going through all of those steps.
Mhm.
But he could go ahead and
He
work
could
on
place
his
it on
permit.
And knowing that he would have to move it if he did not get approved.
Which that would allow me to get started. And
Who's gonna, would
that be up to us to
Your
make them
development
move
permit.
it?
Oh, it'll
That
up to
would be
us to
like a
move it.
code
Yeah.
enforcement.
Yeah.
Code enforcement, forced to move it.
And so we know they can't do nothing can happen until November the 18th. And then Thanksgiving is November the 24th and 25th and 26th, Thursday, and then the next Thursday and Friday. So what he's asking then is, can we have a special meeting for if the P&Z on November the 18th approves the final site plan, then can the commission have a special meeting before December the 2nd, 2 weeks later, to approve or disapprove the final site plan?
I guess what I'm making complicated or bringing up here is that the code says that temporary use of land may be allowed subject to the receipt of a special permit from the administrator and need not apply for nor receive a development order. The following uses include temporary or portable structure for a period not to exceed 1 year. So if you came in under that, but then started this process and went through it successfully on the regular schedule we just talked about, so no special meetings, no special consideration of any sort, and you were successful in that, then it would go from being a temporary portable structure to a permanent structure.
Permitted.
Now,
With-
permitted
yep.
permanent structure under the development order process.
With
But-
the understanding that it was proved through the process.
Yes, you're
But
basically
they would,
following
but
two.
they would understand up front if it was not approved, then they'd have to.
Think of it this way, is if someone built an auxiliary structure on their property, right,
Yes.
and didn't plumb it, didn't wire it, but said, and they're in the commercial area, and then they said, you know what, that would make a nice Korean barbecue place or whatever, then you would have to go through the development order process, this 4-meeting process, in order to get that finally approved. But in the meantime, it's still on your property, it's already there, you could begin doing all the work on it to get it ready, obviously at risk. I mean, you're doing that at risk, but not a huge risk, but.
Would that work for you guys?
Yes, ma'am. I mean,
I think that if we can do that, we're not gonna this is just me. I kind of concur with what the mayor said on opening up a can of worms. You know, I talked with the folks out front. I'm anxious to get them started as well. Another good, successful business in Carrabelle. Anxious to have them here. And if we can do it as our attorney described, and they want to do that, and we're following due process, we're not making any special exceptions, then we're not opening up that can of worms, if they're willing to do it that way.
yes, sir, absolutely.
And the attorney's given us the guidance there on how we may be able to do that, as he described, at risk. If you
Yes, sir.
start doing that, you're good with Keisha and the planning department. You go through the process just as normal, and you get approved, then you become permanent.
Yes, sir.
So they're gonna start out as a temporary building.
They would not be able to open the
They would
restaurant.
still
Yeah.
require a permit. They'd have to
Yeah.
come in and get their permit, but then we would
Right.
issue it as a temporary structure.
They would be able to get set up, but
And
not
then
open for
basically their
business.
site plan would be, you would know exactly where they're gonna be. You know, have some say, well, I'm gonna put it here, and then they actually come back and set it over here.
Right.
It would be already there. Just the only thing is they wouldn't be able to open up for business.
That's no problem.
And
But
so
you
while they're establishing a temporary structure, then they just go, oh, I think I want to make this permanent. And then they apply to come and do the
Well,
process.
they've already applied,
Well,
so
go
we'll
ahead,
just
yes.
continue on the
Uh-huh.
same path.
Continue on the same
Yeah,
path
just-
we're already on, yeah.
Concurrently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And work closely with Keisha, that way you may know that you followed all the
Y'all got a
rules,
good
if
one in
you will.
Keisha. She don't bend, I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
I
your
didn't ask her to break
setbacks,
any rules, but she's.
all of your setbacks and,
I'm a
height
bad guy.
restrictions,
Hey,
yes.
not-
Quality control.
That's
Well,
right.
I mean, you don't want to have to end up having to move it.
No, ma'am.
That's right.
Well, we know the adjacent property owner. and-
Code enforcement
And
side.
don't be putting any sewer pipe or water pipe, because mama sees that. I see it. When they're not supposed to be there, I
No,
see it.
ma'am.
I don't know why.
I
can
just need
see-
to
Okay.
get started on the interior of
To
the
Okay.
basically
building.
get the buildings.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
ma'am. I mean, it's like a dried-in house right now. It has no walls.
I don't think we need a motion
don't
on
either.
that, but that's what I would like to see us go forward and do.
Okay.
So Dan, you said it's a temporary permit
I'm gonna send
approved
you
by
the-
the administrator.
I'll send you the code provision, and you can, it's laid out in the code. So I'll send you that code provision, we'll just follow that as far as the temporary, or the special, it's called a special permit with the administrator. So, again, the onion of the code. But it's right there, and it lays out what needs to be submitted.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, then
You're
we'll see.
welcome, thanks for coming to
We
Carrabelle.
look forward to you
Yes.
being here.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean,
Yeah.
We look forward to
We're
being
very
here.
excited.
Yes, I eat a lot of your pizza.
I miss you, Mr. Frank.
Okay, now we're gonna see you on November the 4th for this commission, and then November the 2nd again.
December the second.
Yeah, December the 2nd, excuse me, the 4th.
I have
and
one
December.
final question before you
Okay.
go. Keisha, are they scheduled, or is it too late for them to get on the P and Z
No,
agenda
we've
for
already
this
got
month?
them scheduled.
Okay, for this month. Good, good, okay.
So you got 4 meetings
Yes, ma'am.
to
Good.
go. All right, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, bye-bye, good luck.
Yay.
All right.
Figured something out for them.
Here we go. Item 3, discussion of possible action regarding the golf cart ordinance, and this is requested by Richard Sands, but Ms. Courtney told me on the way in that Mr. Sands has decided not to appear this evening. But he requested of Courtney that we still discuss it. Or you talked to Keisha? Oh,
I talked to Maria, but he said he was not gonna be here, but he still thought it needed some discussion.
all right. I'll ask the commissioners, do we feel like it needs discussion or what here? I don't know exactly what does anybody know why he requested this in the first place, or?
When he called on the phone and when he spoke with me, his biggest concern was the golf carts on 98
Uh-huh.
and the safety and them crossing the bridge.
Okay,
So that was, and he was under the impression we already had a golf court ordinance. And I explained that we did not have a golf court ordinance and they should not be riding on 98 anyway. So
That's
that was his
correct.
biggest concern.
okay. Now, and Mr., excuse me, Chief Schuman is here with us this evening as well to sit in. He is special to sit in on this item in the event there were any questions from Mr. Sands or the commission regarding the golf cart ordinance that we do not have. And do you, Mr. Schuman, would you like to speak on golf carts on Highway 98, just for public record, and on the bridge, and on any county roadway, and
Well, you're right, and it's not a golf cart ordinance for the city of Carrabelle, it's pretty much clear. It falls under Florida statute. It is a state uniform traffic control situation. There is outlined under Florida statute 316.212, and anybody can look that up on the Florida statute websites. And it basically goes over what is required by the state of Florida if you do have such an ordinance, what the golf carts are required to have, operation of them, who's allowed to operate them, where they're allowed to be operated at, times they're allowed to be operated at during the evenings and daytime. And it's just full of information. It is against the law to drive them on Highway 98, any U.S. highway, unless otherwise designated by DOT. There has to be crossings that are designated by DOT for a golf cart to travel from one part of the city to the other. But there again, without a city ordinance allowing golf cart use, it falls back to law enforcement as far as enforcing it, and which I've instructed my officers to do that very thing. So,
Now, I understand that some have to be tagged. Those are a little different class than the others that are just running in the neighborhood.
yes, sir, the classifications are a maximum speed of 20 miles per hour. Anything over that is called a low-speed vehicle, and they do have to be licensed and insured in the state of Florida. But even a maximum speed of 20-mile-an-hour golf carts still have to have certain things like rearview mirror, blinkers, brake lights, headlights, windshield, horn, and other things necessary to operate them on the roadway.
And Chief, if I read that ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, I read that statute, not ordinance, but that statute. You're the expert. The way I understand it, if we created an ordinance, golf cart ordinance in the city of Carrabelle, our ordinance would not include Highway 98. That's DOT's. The only thing that I saw could be included on the Highway 98 would be an approved crossing by DOT from one street, city street to another city street.
Yes.
Bridge operation would not be included. That's all DOT.
What it says under the subsection 2, it says a golf cart may be operated on part of the state highway system only under the following conditions: to cross a portion of state highway system, to cross at mid-block a part of state highway system where a golf course is constructed on both sides of the highway. A golf cart may be operated on a state road that has been designated for transfer to a local government unit pursuant to another statute. Department of Transportation determines that operation of a golf cart within the right-of-way of the road will not impede the safe and efficient flow of motor vehicular traffic. So there again, it would be up to DOT
To approve a
to
crossing.
approve it, right, yes, sir. So,
And East Point has a golf cart ordinance. The county has done a golf cart ordinance for East Point, but they do not allow, they have not sought a crossing on East Point to go from the north side to the south side of East Point. And their golf cart ordinance allows no golf cart operation below Highway 98 or on North Bay Shore Drive.
Correct.
So they're bound in there. And if they can't get to wherever they need to be, they can't go legally. I believe that if I read that statute right, that if the city, a municipality, had a golf cart ordinance, we can designate certain roads to be for golf carts, and those roads have to be posted. But we cannot designate county roads for golf carts.
Correct.
And we can cross county roads, but we have to get permission from the county to cross, and that has to be posted as well. And thank you, Courtney. That is marked out the Highway 98, which golf carts cannot go on. And then all of the other lines are county roads, which the city cannot designate for golf cart passage. We could apply to the county to cross those roads. And some of those, in the ordinance, it says you may designate 30 golf carts that are designed for 25 miles an hour to travel on a 35-mile-an-hour road other than the state, if you have a municipal road that's 35, if the commission deems that it's safe to travel. I wouldn't deem that River Road or Airport Road or Ryan Drive where I live, any of those roads to be safe for a 20-mile-an-hour cart to travel on, because they go, they're going 50 miles an hour on those roads, although they're posted at 35, and even on 67 is the same. And of course, they can't travel legally on a sidewalk. Is that correct?
unless it's 8 feet wide.
Okay.
And signage, appropriately signed.
Right,
Mhm.
That's correct.
And I don't believe we have an 8-foot wide sidewalk in this area. So,
That's a big sidewalk.
yeah.
I don't even think
I-
Sands Park is 8 feet wide.
I think that one, we have no motor vehicles
I
allowed
mean,
there on
that's
that.
a wide one, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's.
I think between the RV park and the Lighthouse out there on Highway 98, that multimodal path, I think that one, they can take golf carts, but that's out of the city limits, so I don't know for sure.
And we have a lot of them running up and down on 30A in front of our house. And some of them are really putting the pedal to the metal.
Oh, yeah, they have some that'll do
Pedal to
60,
the
70
pedal.
miles an hour. Yeah, they're,
They're overdoing it.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and overloaded.
oh, yeah.
And
And it's a problem. It is. I stopped one today myself and advised them, but there again, a lot of the times the issue is it's people from out of town. It's people that come down that are stay here bringing their own golf carts, and they're not aware of what Florida law is. And of course, it's on them to know the laws. But yeah, it's something we will address, and we'll reach out to people when we see them and stop them and just advise them, and locals as well. I
Okay.
mean, it's what we
And
gotta do.
if anyone's interested in developing a golf cart ordinance, there's your obstacles. It's not like Carrabelle was not developed as a golf cart community in the first place. And the chief, we talked about it, he has a lot of good experience dealing with golf cart issues on the plantation and also on St. George Island. So it was interesting to hear some of the stories and some of the suggestions that he would have if we decided to undertake that type of ordinance. He has some good suggestions from his past experience, so.
Do you have a question, Dan?
I did. I just wanted to point out that this is going back a ways, but it's probably the reason former Commissioner Sands brought it up, was that in 2011, we drafted such an ordinance, and we had workshops and discussions and everything else, and so we got one in the can that needed to be updated, but it never made it to reality because of the state. It was determined we were taking on a bunch of responsibility and everything else that was already covered in state statute. So, it died. So, and obviously it'll be up to you all to decide if the situation has changed, where enough to warrant revisiting.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you staying late and providing some insight, professional. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 4, discussion and possible action regarding postal delivery and cardboard recycling, and this is requested by Miss Marion Morris, and there
Hi.
she is in person.
Hi, thanks
Hi.
everybody for all you do. Well, I don't know how many of you have rural delivery, but in other words, delivery to a post office, to a box in front of your house. And if you do, you've seen that there's a lot of delivery problems. There are a lot of delivery mistakes happening in Carrabelle. A lot of communities, not just Carrabelle. So this is a bigger issue than just Carrabelle. So you're saying, what do we have to do with the post office? And I don't blame you for saying that, but instead of us pointing the finger, I kind of was thinking that maybe we should be part of the solution and think about ways that we can help this mail delivery. Recently, I had my credit card was missing, and it's just like every day mail comes to the wrong boxes, every day. I would love to see a quantification of it, but that's for the manager. I went to the manager who was here, a guest manager or a temporary manager that was here in Carrabelle, and talked to him about it. I had a stack of mail that was like legal documents that had come, and I said, this is, a lot of people would just throw this away. They wouldn't know to bring it back or to write misboxed. It's serious. It's very serious. It's part of our infrastructure, and it's very important. He said they were training people and that they have people contracted and that we're using outside help. And I think now he is no longer here, but he was here temporarily. I don't know who's the manager now. But I came here hoping that without any quantities, like how many mail deliveries there are and how many mistakes there are a day, I don't think anybody's been keeping track, personally. But I think there are 3 things that we can do, 3 things that Carrabelle can do to help. And I think that it behooves us to do that. And one of them is to make sure our street signs are up and visible. If they're not readable, then it's a problem. People get frustrated. If they're not there, I looked at one that was cocked. You can't tell which street is which, and that just takes, and I don't know who's in charge of road, but you know that. So I think street signage is something that we need to put on, and we need to take that seriously, take a section, however you would do it, and address to make sure that we have street signs up adequately and readable. And that would help for newcomers. The second thing is there's a problem with our GPS designation. How many of you are aware of that? Nobody? You can put my address in and it will not take you to my house. That is not just me that that's happening to. But I don't know how big a problem that is. But I have heard that the UPS guy said the same thing. So they're off about 2 blocks. I don't know. That's important. You know, that's
So-
another thing that's important.
I have a question. You're saying, say like on Google Maps, if you put it in, if I put your address in my phone, it won't take me to your house?
That's absolutely right.
Mine does that too.
Oh.
Actually a lot.
Other end of the street.
It's a lot more common than you think.
Like the north and south, and those are all kinds
It's
of wonky.
the mail delivery people and the FedEx and UPS are all frustrated. I can tell because sometimes I get a wad of mail put in my box that has nothing to do with me. All right, and then I would say that the third thing that we should do is write a letter, and maybe this is presumptuous, but I think that if we write a letter, maybe I can't say that because I don't know how big the problem is. It seems like it's big because when I was there talking to that man, another lady came in and was indignant and he said it's a problem. So I talked to more people, but it's all informal. So I really don't know how big the problem is. But I would say that I know that there are cities now that are being audited for USPS, and so there's other communities that have this kind of problem. So I would say that we need to send a letter saying that we have a problem. We're not sure how big it is, but we would like to has this problem been recognized, and it needs to probably come from our mayor, our attorney, and this is very presumptuous of me to suggest this, but I think if we said that we have a problem and that we're willing to do work on our street signage, and if there's any other way we can help, that would formalize that we have a problem. And I think that maybe would just draw attention, and it would be a heads up to somebody that there's a problem here. So
Well,
that's
certainly our street signs, we even have a budget line item for street signage. That's an ongoing project.
it
It's
is.
ongoing
I've
all the
seen
time.
some fixed since I've been thinking about coming to this meeting for a while. I've been thinking about going around taking pictures and talking about it, but I've seen some improved, and I appreciate that. But there are, if you're out there, we've got most of our intersections identified. But if you're out there and you're delivering mail and you look up and you don't know what street you're on, oh, that was one part of the letter that should be included. Presumptuous again. But we should suggest that the post office put a letter to mail delivery that they would like to have people identify their address and their street name by a 1-inch or 2-inch, whatever they designate. I looked at how many post office mailboxes will say a number, and part of the number's gone, and they don't say a street name. And all of this contributes to a problem. And the post office, if that rural mail delivery had a letter that they put in there and said, please mark your street number and the name of your street on your box. Thank you very much. You know, nothing, no threats, nothing. Again, pretty presumptuous, but I think that a letter like this might help. All I
Are you
can say.
requesting the letter to the postmaster here in Carrabelle or to the U.S. Postal General?
Well, I think that the people in Tallahassee, and the Postmaster General is the one in the United States, I
Right.
believe. I'm really talking about the one that's overviewing us, which is, I believe, Tallahassee.
The
And-
district?
A district, yes. And I would send it actually to the manager, to whatever their designation is, the manager here in Carrabelle, and them, copy it.
And as far as requesting that or requiring or something that people write their name and a number on their mailbox, that's most likely going to be a national requirement, and that's why I said the Postmaster General. I mean, we could ask them to,
I think
but
it's on their website that what their requirements are for the post office, because Gander's just got a post office box and they had requirements they had to meet.
a box, a mailbox, or one
A
inside?
box at the building.
The box
they
on
had-
the
Rural-
site.
It had to have
Okay.
certain
Yeah.
size letters, and it
Yeah.
had to say the street name, like it.
Well,
that
if it
was
already,
required.
if the post office already has those requirements, then they have to enforce it, you know, and they
Well,
may.
a letter that reminded would not be, I mean, and the mail person could just put it in there, you know? A little memo, you know? Please mark your box. And,
But
so
Cour-
anyways, that's
Oh,
presumptuous.
Courtney can certainly, follow up, she will, I know
My,
she will.
my
Or
box
Dustin.
number is 112 Northeast Avenue A. This was delivered to me yesterday. It is 212 East Meridian Avenue. How does that happen?
I have no idea.
And this is from a financial institution. It's not junk mail.
Okay, so,
That's all.
all right.
That's it.
We can-
Next item is that I came.
Do you know what we can do? I don't know what we can do about GPS designation,
Can
do
I
you?
speak to that real
Yes,
quick?
please.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know what we can do with that. In my travels in other areas, other states, you run into the same issue with GIS mapping. It's not perfect by any means. I love it because 9 times out of 10 it'd take me where I need to go. But it's not perfect. It has sent me on rabbit chases a few times. So, just like you were saying, it won't send to your house and won't send to Courtney's. I've been to a couple of spots, as an example, in Alabama, and I've been on rabbit chases and didn't know where I was, and the place I was looking for was right across the woods over there. But anyway, it's not perfect, but it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it happens in places that there's poor reception, but
Well,
I don't
it's
understand
not
how.
the reception. I've been in cities where the GIS mapping is not perfect, so.
Who in the
and-
world does that?
And we're not unique to having a few arrows right here. There are other areas that have the.
I know that,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to get that fixed, and
No,
then,
no.
m-
But occasionally you see that little Google card that has a little thing on the top
Uh-huh.
that
That's
rides
right.
up and down the streets.
Oh,
Yeah,
There's
that's right.
several people who are using the incorrect address.
yeah,
And I try to
That's right.
enforce that, especially if they're getting a permit. I make them change their address, and I explain to them that even 911 will have to, because it's not locals anymore driving the emergency.
absolutely.
That they will have difficulty getting to you if you don't use the correct address. You know,
Okay.
I've had this address for 20 years, you know, so.
there's 2 people that would like to speak, Greg and then Chief Schuman.
You can go on the Google Maps app and send feedback with the correction, and they will change it. I've done that for other people.
Yeah.
That's
Just get in there
interesting.
and you send feedback and they'll correct it. If it's not, if you type your address in and it's going somewhere else, you can go in there and just move that right to and then tell them that's the correct address. If you wanna fix your own, I don't know about everybody else.
Okay, and then Chief?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's all based off satellite.
Uh-huh.
That's what GPS is, it's a global positioning system.
Mhm.
And so, and that's common, there are different apps that you can download that are for positioning as well. There's maps, there's Google Maps, there's other ones on your phone that you promote that you may wanna try, man, that may help you out with that sort of thing too. The other thing I was gonna mention is I spoke with an employee at the post office in East Point in reference to a suspicious person delivering mail. And she informed me that they have outside contractors that deliver the mail, and a lot of times they're from other states. This one particular, this young lady was from Alabama, North Alabama, and she was only here for that day and then didn't know when she'd be back. So that's another part of the problem is people being in the area, not knowing the area, not knowing the addresses, the streets, the locations, and that sort of thing.
So we can help with the street signage.
That's
You know,
basically
that's,
what
Yeah,
our
take-
biggest,
Lanark has got a Georgia Avenue, same as Carrabelle.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Right.
And do y'all get Lanark mail at your Georgia Avenue
We do.
address?
And it's
Okay.
Carrabelle, Florida as well.
Yeah.
We use the same
Uh-huh.
thing for the
Uh-huh.
same zip code.
Well, there's a lot of things going on, and Ms. Marsh gave an example. I'll give you an example from yesterday. I had a package delivered to my home yesterday, and I paid no attention. It was left in my garage, and I picked it up, take it in the house, but normally I just sit it on the table because it's normally my wife's, but I just happened to look at it, and it didn't even have her name on it. So I look at it. My address is 202 12th Street Northeast, Carrabelle. The address on this package was 202 Northeast 1st Street. in Carrabelle. And I know the person, so I just took it to them.
I've been doing that too.
That's a human error right there by just not looking at the correct address. So,
Yes, but I think part of it is when you have outsiders and they're tired and they've got a bunch of mail, they just get careless, I think, and that's why it's good for us to make sure our street signage is good. I think the letter is good. They need to work harder to get people that are qualified, but that's not our job, obviously. But if we let them know that there's a problem, that same thing with Buddy Varner. I don't know how much time he spent waiting, trying to get it was sitting in somebody else's house for 2 weeks, his package. I think it was a vacuum cleaner, whatever it was. Somehow we got it to him, but I think there was another one on the way. But it was sitting in somebody else's carport for 2 weeks.
and from my perspective, they still have a ways to go, but I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, it's gotten much better.
Has it?
Yes, especially with the deliveries in my neighborhood, it's gotten much better.
Very good.
That man told me that they're doing training sessions, so I'm hoping that, but I think that if we can get our street signs, I would really like to see that. So the other thing, so maybe we could get a letter, but again, that's presumptuous. You can think about it, whatever, but I think a letter would be good. The other thing I want to talk about is we live in a community that is historically a paper industry. And our young people and our old people have grown up with paper being our main industry. And so I'd like to see us have cardboard recycling. And I know recycling's a big problem. I give up on regular recycling. But cardboard recycling can be done. And they have boxes that have only the 4-inch slot. And those are not so problematic. And I think if we ask the county just for cardboard, nothing else, cardboard with the limited
Marion,
opening.
I did call the solid waste director after we spoke. And they do have cardboard recycling, unbeknownst to me, and I was happy to find out. And yesterday I went over and took a picture. It's at the Franklin County Senior Center Services. I know you know where that building is.
Elder care?
Yes, it's there. I don't know. Don't ask me why it's there, but it's there. Mr. Fonda Davis told me. There it is in the back of the building, and you access it from their driveway on the back side over across the street from Tilly Miller Park. And that's it. And it has that little opening like you talk about. The cardboard boxes have to be broken down to put cardboard in there. And Greg and I will be using it because we have a lot of cardboard.
Everybody, we're getting a lot of
I got a
packages.
pile at my front back door right now.
Yes,
So
we're getting a lot of
it's
packages.
there. You got to pull up
But
in their
if we could
driveway.
communicate that out there, I wonder
I
if we
will
could
be
get that
putting it on
message.
Facebook.
Good, thank
And
you very much.
I wanted the pictures to
Problem
be.
solved.
Greg,
We
put those.
saw-
Are you getting a video of those pictures? Put that so we can see. How about you, Mr. Royce? All right, very good. It is
Good.
behind the Franklin County Senior Center Services Building at the corner of Northwest Avenue F and Northwest 2nd Street, across the street from Tilly Miller. Not the Franklin County Senior Center, but the Senior Services Center.
Right.
It's on
And
F.
there it
and what
is,
street?
right there. You go in their
F and
back
six.
driveway, and it's behind the building, and that is open to the public, provided by Franklin County Solid Waste.
We have solved a problem.
I know it. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for posting those pictures. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next one? All right, these two should be easy. Item 6, approve, disapprove. the
Five,
sta-
item 5.
5, let me see. Item 5, yes. Then we've got to do this one too. Item 5, approve, disapprove the staff recommendation for contractor bid award for the Lighthouse Estates Septic to Sewer and Water Expansion Project.
I did talk to Russell about this today, and he was fine with us approving the bid. However, since we're having a meeting on Wednesday, I think it's probably in our best interest just to we'll put that on the agenda with the other
All right, so do we
discussion.
want to, need a motion
I'll
to,
make a motion to table it,
table it to that,
13th.
okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, that motion is by Commissioner Millender, second by Commissioner Brown to table this item to October the 13th. Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, very good. Now we can go to item 6. Approve, disapprove staff recommendation for contractor bid award for disaster debris removal and disaster debris monitoring. And Courtney, Keisha, and Mr. Dustin completed this project, and you can tell us about your recommendations.
These are the bids that we opened right here. I mean, I don't know if it was last month or the month before, but it was a stack of them, and so it was quite a project. But Dustin and Keisha and I sat down with a score sheet, and we went through each and one of them, and we had criteria that we scored them on. So there were some really good ones, and there were some that weren't as good and didn't have as much equipment, and so when we scored them for our disaster debris removal, we scored Crowder Gulf for the highest score, and that is who we are currently using, have been using since Hurricane Michael.
Is this for both?
No, this is for just the debris removal.
Okay.
So your staff's recommendation is then for Crowder Gulf for the disaster debris removal?
Yes.
Do we have a motion regarding that?
Motion to approve.
Okay. And do we have a second?
Second.
And, okay, that's by Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Mathis and Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries, okay?
For our disaster debris monitoring, there were only 2 bids. They were very similar. So our main, because they were almost identical. So we took into consideration that the one company that we've used before and that we had a good response from them, and they did a really good job. So our recommendations for Tetra Tech.
Tetra Tech?
Tetra Tech.
Okay, do we have a motion regarding that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and we have, do we have a second?
I'll second. Frank.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Allen
That's
first
good.
myself, so, Keisha, that's Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Allen seconds to approve Tetra Tech for the monitoring. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries.
I will say, we used both of these companies during Hurricane Michael. They both had a great response. Crowder Gulf was here picking up and getting it taken care of, and Tetra Tech, we literally didn't have any issues with either one of them, so
Good.
Yeah, I thought they did well.
we were happy.
Okay, and so that's Crowder Gulf for the removal, Tetra Tech for the monitoring.
Correct.
Okay, so item 7, approve, disapprove contract awards for the Community Development Block Grant Marine Street Revitalization Project, and we have the engineering contract and the grant administration contract, and we did send that out for bid.
We did send that out for bid. This one's really easy because we only got one for the engineering and one for the grant administration. For the engineering contract was Innovia Consulting. Do we want to do these together?
Yeah, we'll just do
And the grant administration was Fred Fox Enterprises.
I'll make
Okay.
a motion to approve both.
I'll second.
Okay, to approve for the CDBG grant engineering contract, Novia Consulting grant administration contract, Fox Enterprise, motioned by Commissioner Millender, second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries. Okay, and that's Innovia and Fox Enterprises. And the next, Millender and Allen. And then there is no old business, so then we'll move on to public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? This is where the public may comment on any non-agenda item or non-action item for up to 3 minutes. Okay, please come forward and state your name for the record, sir, and if you wish, you can remove your, there you go.
Rod Gashi, this is just a question that several of us with the Vision Group had questions for our city attorney. And since all this was going on with Family Dollar, since the city council and the planning and zoning began deliberating the idea of the siting of the Family Dollar Tree store within the confines of the town of Carrabelle. Have you notified, you yourself, both of these committees, the City Commission and the Planning and Zoning, of your position in union with Mr. Butler? Mrs. Butler, as your position is the chairman of their organization, no, it's not connected with their Carrabelle River Plaza, but you're still, you know, in tight with them. And I ask it because the possibility that some of your directions to these boards could be misconstrued by people in the audience, like I am out here, because of several of your directions to the committees regarding how to proceed legally in when you're being asked, et cetera. I.e., you can't table it again, must vote, and the city can give property to a private company if they want, or similar words along the lines of the city can close, block, or abandon public access to vital service, U.S. Postal for specific, to benefit a private or profit corporation without due regard for the public interest. If you haven't done that, when are you going to do that? Pardon? I can't.
He needs the microphone.
Oh, okay. I said, if you haven't done it, when are you going to do that, or are you going to do it tonight? What's the matter with it?
He has to use it as well.
Oh, he has to, yeah, okay.
No, and I'm just answering your question. So, if what you're referring to is the Franklin County Land Trust, so it's a not-for-profit for affordable housing, so it's not any individual's organization. I've served on it for 7 years, 8 years, sort of thing. So it's no individual's organization. People other than the Butlers serve on it. So it's unrelated to city business or what's unrelated to city business. And then as far as my advice on Family Dollar, I'm giving it from obviously legal advice on a quasi-judicial matter, and I stand by it, whatever I've said in the past. So that's that. Yep.
All right, then, is there any, thank you, Mr. Hartman. Thank you, Mr. Gashi. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Okay, then, I guess it's time for
Make a
an
motion to
adjournment.
adjourn.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Mathis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion? Mathis and Brown, all in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, we thank you very much.